What is up, ladies and gentlemen? And today I'm going to talk about Amnesia: The Dark Descent. And this is one of the most interesting and very intricate and very well designed game I've ever played in a long time, especially when it comes to the horror genre. And what I love about this game is that it works on a basis of insanity. And so basically what this game does with that, it plays a little bit with your mind. There was a game very similar to that called Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem back on the Nintendo GameCube days. And this is what this game does. And so, I really enjoyed this game as to why it does that type of gameplay aesthetic to it. And I think that's what Amnesia: The Dark Descent does perfectly. And I really like the way how this game just overall feels to its own type of extent of what it does and how it plays with your mind. And I love that aspect and that concept of it. And I think that's what makes Amnesia: The Dark Descent so unique, different from Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem. Now, what I will say about this game as well, I think what really makes this game very, not just popular, it was made by a company called Frictional Games, and so I think Frictional Games did a really good job of knowing what they want to do when it comes to a horror genre element, or the horror genre of games, as it were. Much like Amnesia: Dark Descent, or Amnesia: Machine for Pigs, or Amnesia: Justine. They recently came out with the sequel to the first Amnesia: The Dark Descent called Amnesia Rebirth. I believe that's what it's called. And that was a couple of years back. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I felt like it was not as good as the first one. But however, it was still good. It was still a good game. I really liked its story. I thought the story was very well, interesting, unique, and intricate to its own type of design and story, gameplay as well. But I think Amnesia: The Dark Descent just does it a little bit better in most aspects, and the concept of the story of Amnesia: The Dark Descent. I think that's what makes this game so great. Now, what I will say about Amnesia: The Dark Descent, it's one of those games to where it's not, like I previously mentioned, it's not just because of the sanity of what this game does. It plays with your mind, like I said before, so pardon me for my repetition. But however, I think this game is very well designed. I love the design and the world of this game, and it shows there's some really interesting environmental storytelling other than the main story campaign itself. And I think that's why I really think that's why Amnesia does a really good job of some very intricate storytelling, and I like that. I think it does a really good job with that, and I think it's really hard to discern as to what horror games are really good of storytelling other than environmental storytelling. But there is one in particular I do remember. It is called The Suffering, and I played that very little of way back in the day when it first initially released, and I really can't remember much about that game. But however, what I thoroughly remember about Amnesia: The Dark Descent, you play as a protagonist named Daniel, and he basically suffers from a little bit from amnesia, hence the name of the game, of course. And he really can't remember anything. So basically, you have to go through different types of areas within a castle, or through certain types of catacombs, or wherever you venture off through this entire game. And its level design of this game is one of the best I've seen, other from that of, like Thief the Dark Project back in 1998, or Thief 2 The Metal Age, or Thief Deadly Shadows back in 2004. But however, I think what Amnesia: The Dark Descent does well is not just about its story, and not just about the protagonist Daniel that you play as. You will eventually pick up certain types of items within the world of Amnesia. They have a thing called tinderbox, and you're able to light up sources like torches, and then you also will be carrying a lantern of sorts to where you can be able to light up when you're walking, and that's really going to help you raise your sanity up a little bit better And like I said, and that's where the gameplay mechanic comes from in Amnesia, is that the light will bring your sanity up, and if you don't have any light around you, your sanity will get lower, lower, and lower, and that's what this game is also based upon. And I think that it does it really remarkably well, much like what I previously mentioned about Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem. And it kind of borrows from that. But I really think that Amnesia just does it a little bit better. But overall, I think when it came to Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem, it was very, like I said, that game was based on sanity as well. And I think that's why those two games, like Amnesia and Eternal Darkness, was very well intriguing. It was very well done. So I love that. Now, what I will say about Amnesia as well, you know, I love the world of this game. I think it's one of the best I've seen other than from Eternal Darkness. However, it's very intriguing as to what the environment tells or what it shows. You know, other than the environmental storytelling, as I previously mentioned, and it really just tells of what this world of this game means or what it does. And I think it's really cool. And I love the fact that I like these types of games. I've always liked horror games in general, because even if you're not fighting against creatures with types of weapons or anything, but I think that's where Amnesia: The Dark Descent really falls. That's wrong word. Where it really differentiates from that of any other type of horror game, to where you're fighting against your opponents, right? Amnesia doesn't have that, like I said, because it's based upon a little bit evasion, but it's also based on hiding, specifically because, you know, there are creatures in this game that you cannot fight up against, and basically you have to be careful where or who these creatures are and what they will do to you if you're not careful enough. And I think that's where Amnesia really does a remarkable job of knowing that, you know, there are just things in this game that you have to be very well considered of taking a really good way of hiding in a specific area and not being able to get caught, because when you get caught, you will eventually get thrashed, and you have to be careful. But however, if you get killed by one of these monsters and then you wake up again as Daniel, you'll be able to traverse through that specific type of area with no problems. You know, that's one of the things that Amnesia does well as well, is the fact that you could be able to go around in that specific area again without being seen or anything, because there's nothing else around you. Like I said, I feel like that when it comes to the creature aspect of Amnesia, it's very weird, because I'm trying to understand where I'm trying to come from. Is that like I previously mentioned, when you get caught and then the creatures are no longer there anymore because they probably ventured on forward to where they wanted to go. You know, they have their own types of movements. You know, that's where the artificial intelligence movements are, as far as the game is concerned, on that mechanical level. But however, I think what Amnesia also does perfectly, or not, if not flawlessly, there are certain areas in the game to where it's like you have to go through specific types of areas, and there's the puzzle solving is really intricate as well, and that's where the puzzle solving comes in as well. And when you like have certain types of puzzles that you have to accomplish, you have to go through a little bit of a different level in order to progress. And that's where the progression system comes in as well in Amnesia: The Dark Descent. I think it just does it really well, interesting enough to where why I think that this game was so well loved back in the day, and it still is to this day. I think a lot of people really enjoyed Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Like I said, when I first played this game for the first time, I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do this. I literally completely closed out my whole entire game, and I couldn't do it because I was being a little bit more of a scaredy pants. And yes, you heard me correctly. So, But overall, I think that's why I like horror games. I love horror games to the way to where it gives you, it's okay to be scared because you will eventually get that adrenaline rush. And when you get that adrenaline rush, like what Amnesia does, it does it so well. Yes, you will get that jump scare, but when you get that jump scare out of you and you're just like, okay, I need to calm down, because that's what this game does perfectly. I really think that when it comes to horror games in general, much like Amnesia, I really wish that they would have games like this more often, like Amnesia, because, you know, I rarely ever see that in any other horror games like this, and I really would like to see that again. Now, what I will say as well, there is a new Amnesia game coming out sometime this year, I believe. It's called Amnesia: The Bunker. And I'm very, very excited for this game. Because what I love about that game so far, the only thing that I know is that they only had a short trailer on it. However, I want to be able to know what this game is going to look like at its full potential and when it first releases, and I really would like to see gameplay on it, because more appropriately, it's like the same thing with Assassin's Creed Mirage. It's like I really want to see gameplay on the game and make me feel like that I'm sold enough to get the game. That's one thing I would really greatly admit, is that I want to be able to see gameplay on a specific game that I know that I'm going to be heavily interested in. And I'm very interested in Amnesia: The Bunker, but however, like I said, I want to see gameplay. But anyways, just veering a little bit off topic here.
What do you mean?
Now, I think what Amnesia: The Dark Descent does magnificently well, is its level design. I love the level design in this game. I think it's one of the best intricate and unique ways of traversing through different types of areas in the game. And, you know, and solving specific puzzles will eventually, you have to venture off just a little bit beyond that area in order to achieve that progression of that specific said puzzle. And, you know, that's how Amnesia: The Dark Descent does it perfectly in terms of that design and mechanically overall as well. And what I'm trying to say is that I can't praise enough about Amnesia: The Dark Descent, because I think this game just does something that I never really was quite expecting.
12th of August,
And another thing what this game does really well too is the fact it's not just about, like I previously mentioned, about the environmental storytelling in its own unique way, but, you know, there is a heavily deep story to this game. I won't say it's very, very deep, but it's deep enough to where that there is some pretty interesting character progression. But however, Daniel, like I previously mentioned, he has amnesia. You know, he doesn't know what's going on, and he has to do anything possible to progress through to different areas of the game. And you'll be picking up certain types of pieces of paper that will have that, like I said, it has that environmental storytelling along with that note, and that note will have some storytelling to that as well. And I have seen games like that before, but it's more on the lines of audio storytelling, or storytelling through, you know, like audio diaries, much like Prey 2017, or like Bioshock, or Bioshock Infinite and Bioshock 2. So, you know, I mean, I think that's where Amnesia, I just feel like that Amnesia just does something better in terms of survival without combat. And like I said, I love that I love that concept. And the reason why I love that concept is because it makes it more, you're ambitious, you're getting yourself amped up, you're not expecting you're not getting expected to the unexpected of knowing what you have to do next. And that's what I love about this game as well. So, but anyways, all I can say is it's very interesting to know that Amnesia is one of the, like, to me, in my own personal opinion, as a gamer as I am, I think Amnesia is definitely one of the best horror games to that of the horror genre. I would love, like I said, I would love to see other horror games like this in the not too distant future, in the next few years, because I feel like that when it comes to horror games, they're not always all that great. But Amnesia just really does something different from what I previously mentioned about this whole entire video of me discussing what this game does. So that's all I have to say about that. So all I can say is I do highly recommend playing this game. Even if you are a scaredy pants, maybe possibly like I am, that's okay. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to have that adrenaline rush. It's always it's good to know that you are scared about something, either if it's something that if someone scares you or if someone just doesn't know what you're doing, or vice versa. And I think that's what Amnesia does. It just does something perfectly as to what I was not expecting to have happen to me. But if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to reply back. You guys have a good rest of your weekend, and make it a good one. Peace.